Welcome, Gail Miller, to the podcast. Gail, you have been involved with your husband, Gary Miller, in setting up the introduction in the US of the HumanCharger.
Yes,
So,
that
for those who don't know, let's start with what it even is.
well, it's very simple. It's this little device, and you can see it's kind of bright. It is bright light that goes through your ears like this. You press the button, and it's transcranial bright light, UV free, so it's totally safe. And it goes straight to the back to your hypothalamus and your in the back of your head, and it helps your circadian rhythm. It improves your moods. It's unbelievable. And I certainly didn't think that that was what it was going to be when I started using it. I thought, "Yeah, okay, well, we'll try it," because usually for me, and especially coming from the US, it's take a pill, put a patch on, and all my friends, "Oh, you have to try my vitamin or my thing," or the doctors are throwing medicine at you. And then you have to play around with the dosages and you have to figure out where you're going to be, and then something changes. So when I discovered it, after trying it, and it really worked after about a week, I was ecstatic. And basically, I didn't believe it was gonna work. I didn't think it was gonna do anything. It changed, first of all, my sleep pattern. So for the first time since I was a kid, I was, waking up at, like, 6 in the morning without an alarm, wide awake, and I'm like and not feeling any sort of, "Oh god, I could roll over and go back to sleep." I was up. That was bizarre. That had been years since I was a kid. It's like being a little kid and you just get up, you're like, "Okay, it's time to go play in the dirt or in the sandbox or something. Gotta do something." So that's how I felt when I started using it, and I was putting in, 8 to 12-hour days in a basement, in a ski resort in Austria. I didn't speak the language, and I was right in the middle of menopause, and all those wonderful symptoms, and I was on antidepressants, and I'm like, "There's gotta be something else." I really didn't think it was gonna work, and it was unbelievable. After about a week, it took about a week for me to notice it. So, I would use it once in the morning, you press the button, it goes on for 12 minutes, and people were laughing at me. Austrians are tough. They're tough people, man. They power through anything. So, it's like, "No, that's not gonna work. This is crazy." And they're looking at me and they're like, "Where are you getting this energy?" And they're drinking their cappuccino and their drinks, and I'm like, "Look, I feel great." And I like my coffee, especially like European coffee because it's tastes better than American ground water, but, so I just started to notice, first of all, my energy changed, and then, about midday when I would start to feel the slump, I would put it in again, and I'd press the button again, and that just sorta gave me another sort of push to get through till, like, 7 or 8 at night, depending on when I was done with work. Then I'd get back on the bus and I'd go in, and it didn't affect my sleep. What happened with my sleep is instead of, up and down with menopause or premenopause, I just started to sleep really deeply through the night. And then I'd be up in the morning and going again. And my moods were better. I was happier. People were looking at me like, "Well, this is really strange." My husband would meet me on the weekends. We'd go ski for a day or 2, and he's like, Wow, what's going on?" So I weaned myself, with the doctor's permission, off of the antidepressants, and I just started using it often, every single day, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, times a day. It didn't affect my sleep at night, but, my mood was better, my sleep was better. It was really strange, and I really didn't think it was gonna do the trick. And then I spent the whole winter there. I was trying to, tell people about it. The friends that we had use it for traveling back to the US, they were in their 70s. They had no jet lag.
Is that the doctors?
Yeah, they were doctors, and I'm like, "You didn't have any jet lag?" And they're like, "No." So we started giving it to Olympic athletes and friends of ours, and no negative feedback, and I'm like, Nothing? You got nothing." So in the spring, when I was done with my stint at this ski shop, I jumped on a plane and flew from Portugal to, um to Seattle, and with a I don't know, it was like a 3 or 4 hour layover in New York. I arrived there, I had no jet lag. It was the strangest thing I'd ever experienced in my life. I was like, "This is crazy." I used it up till 9 o'clock at night when I had arrived to get in the car, right at the end when you're just started going, "Ugh," when you're like, "Okay, I'm here now, and I'm just now it's late at night, I'm kinda getting tired." I used it one more time, I crawled into bed, I read 3 or 4 sentences, and then I was out cold, and then 6, 7 in the morning, wide awake, ready to go, and I just hit the ground running, and I was like, "This is unbelievable," because I've always been affected. So every time I used it traveling after that, I didn't have any issues. It was so strange. So I just like how it makes me feel. I like to finally not have to take a million pills, you know.
Talk about all of that. And I can see you as such an advocate and you really believe in this thing. You are in awe, essentially, of the impact that it has had. But I wanted to look more into some of the things that didn't work and what was happening. You mentioned that you had a hysterectomy. That's that's something in itself, but a lot of women have all sorts of hormonal issues, and the media is giving a lot more attention now to how women's health isn't researched as much as men's health, and women have been kept out of studies. I'm seeing a nod. So
Yeah.
even for a health issue that could affect everybody, women have been excluded from studies. There's a lot that isn't known, and it's almost a cultural expectation to not talk about women's health a little bit. But I'm really curious about that as much as you want to share it. You mentioned the depression. I'm curious. Was the depression tied in with hormones or is that a separate thing?
Well, I was diagnosed much later in life with panic attacks. They said, "Oh, you probably have ADHD, but they're all connected. Everything's connected." And I had a male doctor, a male psychiatrist. "Oh, well, just don't worry about it here. We'll just take a pill. When in doubt, have another medication. It might ruin your sex drive. It might, they'll give you a million. Well, try this for a while, and if that doesn't work, we'll try this." So your body is going. You're on a roller
Okay.
coaster. It's
A lot of side
crazy.
effects?
And my mother died when I was 17, so nobody to talk to about it. I had a doctor in Park City that was a female doctor before my hysterectomy who told me that I would be fine and I would lose weight and everything would be better if I just ran, 2 hours every day after work. Go teach skiing, go do your design, and then go running, and you'll be better.
Design?
Yeah, I'm a designer
What
by
sort?
interior design.
Nice.
Yeah. So I was just like, "Oh, I guess, this is just what happens as you get older," and no one to talk to about it, and they weren't certainly sharing information. So when I finally had the hysterectomy, um, they left my ovaries in, which was supposed to help my hormones, but they never talked about hormone replacement, nothing. This was in the US. This was so frightening to me. And we moved to Portugal first, and I was a wreck. I was a basket case. And I went to a mall in Portugal where there was a doctor's office, and the girls at the front desk, they knew more than the doctors that I'd spoken to. And they were like, "Oh, you need to have an endocrinologist. They need to test your da 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 da. They test your blood." And I went through all that, and he goes, "Well, you're not on any hormones or so he gave me all the medicine, but it's still medicine, and that was, and then you have to monitor yourself and do all that. There was no other help, go out, get your exercise, and do your thing. But that's not the only answer, and I really thought that was it. And I have friends that sell, you know, every kind of vitamin, "Oh, take this. This will make you feel better, and this, join my club and do this." And I'm like, "Okay, well, that's a lot of money." And then I have to call my friends, and then they have to have me buy this, and then, that gets old.
It's
And
a
it,
lot.
it
So in multiple countries, people were telling you to just pop a pill.
yeah, pop a pill, try this, do this. But it was always some sort of pill or patch. Um, So it really it wasn't anything that really helped. And then when I discovered this device, the difference right away I could tell with my sleeping and then my moods, I was like, I don't want to take so much medicine. Then I went back to the doctor and I went, I'm feeling a lot better. And they don't want you to get off the medicine. So I was pretty careful about how I weaned myself off.
They
But
don't
I
want you to
weaned
go
my,
off it?
yeah, no antidepressant. Now,
Why
I what?
why
And
don't they want you to go off it?
because they don't want you to be sad or, get moody or cause any problems. Just be quiet and go, shh. There's a lot of shh. Just you're supposed to be happy and lovely and I really it's a really strange it's a strange thing and I'm hearing it now that they're talking about it. Women are talking about it more and more, and I'm really happy about it. Um, but that because the young people are saying, in their 40s, they're going, "Oh, well, this is happening and this is happening." I'm like, "Well, just wait till your skin changes and your everything changes." And nobody was there to tell me about it. And so the more women talk about it, I think the better it is. But you get all the symptoms with it, and everybody's affected differently. So for me, the human charger and the light, I'm like, okay, so this isn't going to hurt me. My brain's not going to light up and go on fire. And so I was like, okay, it's not a tanning bed in my brain. That's pretty good. So I was really, really excited that I had found something that's sort of it's not a cure, but it's an aid. And I'm like, okay, so it's not I don't have to spend $300 to $500 a month on a vitamin. This is just something that I can do. And if you can get outside, it's the best way to do it. I mean, I don't know what it's like down where you are, but if you can go outside, that's the best thing you can possibly do. Get outside and get fresh air, but you can't always do that. And a lot of people are working inside, they're looking at their screens, and then this was like, "Oh, I'm here, I'm present, I'm awake, I'm focused." For me, that was a really, really big deal, and I just felt better. So I actually have a friend, that we gave it to. She's a flight attendant. We said, "Well, try this just because I wanna know if it works for you when you're flying," you know? For me, it was, how many people can I have that I know try this because they're gonna tell me whether I'm crazy and whether it's psychosomatic or whether or not this actually might.
Placebo.
Yeah, yeah, well, what's the deal? And I'm not a scientist. I'm just a woman. So
Well,
this one.
it's more than that, though. You say you're just a woman, but let's look into for a second the professional side of things, because I personally believe that when you have family working in a particular field, it does overflow into your field of knowledge. You can absorb their knowledge. And so it's very relevant to say that you were working in what, a ski shop, because Gary, your husband, is a great ski coach, and however, you were in a basement for so many hours in the day. I didn't realize it was that many hours. What, 10 hours in the day?
Yeah, under fluorescent lights. So I can't even imagine people, I can't imagine people that go to work into an office, they sit in a cubicle, they have lousy light, you know, they get a small tiny break and they're staring at their computer screens or whatever, or they're on their phones. That's hard. And, in the old days, people take their cigarette breaks. They did that in Lec. A lot of the kids were out smoking, which blew my mind, but that was something. And the first thing they would do is sit out and get whatever sun they could get. But when the days were dark and cloudy or snowing, you can't get the light. So for me, this was really important and it was really great. And I could definitely tell the difference. This other woman, this flight attendant, she is completely off of all of her medicine and her antidepressants. It doesn't help her when she flies because her turnaround time is really fast. So she'll fly long distances and then she'll come back. And so it doesn't help her that way. She's just programmed. She's done it for so long. But she uses it every day religiously. She's like, it's the best. It just keeps her happy and it's kind of like this. You're kind of like going along and everything's sort of easy,
What was
which
her difference before this? Was she having struggles with moods? Was there something else?
it's that same, I think we were probably similar in age. The girls are in college. Um, she was on antidepressants. Her body's changing. She's going through all this and she didn't want to be on all the pills. So I think a lot of people are looking for something else, something that isn't a pill popper. When I first moved from the US to Europe, I was on like 600 milligrams to 800 milligrams of ibuprofen a day. Headaches and body aches and whatever. Not anymore. And I don't know. I can't contribute that to the food, but I know that the bad food and all of that is not good for you. So this
Sure.
giving me energy, making me feel better, making me want to get up and go out and move. And that was huge. I'm like, okay, I can get up in the morning and I can go for a hike or I can go work out and I have the energy to do it, which is
And
wild.
and you said that you two travel to other countries quite frequently to go skiing in different places. So that's a lot of a shift. Let's look at that for a second.
Just it's like just depending on what the weather is, where you go, and how you do it, I like the convenience because I can take it and wear it. It's really funny because people don't know about it. They think you're listening to music because you just got these little ear things in and they think you're rocking out, and then the light will go off. But I talk to a lot of people. I grew up in the ski lodge business, so I blah, 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 blah. And I talk to people about, what it is and why it is. And it's been life-changing for me. I use it all the time, and I can't imagine life without it. It just it wakes me up, it corrects my sleep, it helps my cortisol, my estrogen. It just just mellows me out. So I'm not sort of a crazy middle-aged monster anymore, I guess. I don't feel like I am.
Feel tempted to ask the rude question of age because I was always taught don't ask about age, but what sort of age are we talking about where these things are happening?
Well, let's see, I'm 57 now, so I don't know, it's been about 10 years. Or
Really?
more. Yeah, it's unbelievable. Some people started at their 40s, some people it's later. Um, I do know that, some people get it early onset symptoms, that's brutal. You're trying to raise your children and you're going through these things and you can't control your moods. You can't control, and then you're popping pills and you've got to be with it and you've got to work and you've got to be professional. That's a lot. There's a lot to ask of a woman. And, the guy comes home and he works all day and yeah, he works hard, let's say. and then he takes his stuff off and he goes to bed, but the mom is, putting the kids to bed. This isn't everybody, but putting the kids to bed, making sure the backpacks are ready, is the lunch ready? So we're working all the time. And so anything that will help sort of get you through that, and then to turn your brain off at the end of the day is really hard. And it was nice to just have the energy during the day and then lay down, read a few sentences, and fall asleep. It was amazing. And really sleep. Because if you don't have that sleep and your circadian rhythm is off, you know, you just become worse and worse.
So
It's
the
not
sleep
good.
is really crucial to steady all of these other issues.
I think it's just about everything. But the difference I think was it's not depressive sleep, it's quality sleep that I ended up getting where I would go to sleep and I'm out, but then I'm just up versus sleeping and then I'm up and then I'm sleeping and then it just prolongs, you wait till 10 minutes till you have to get out the door and you're like, "Oh, I gotta get dressed. I gotta go," because you're so depressed. It sort of changed everything for me, and
Yes.
and and it took that away. And everyone I have friends now trying it that are my age, and some that are younger, and they're like, "Wow, this is really nice." Um, but like I said, it's not like you pop a pill and it's magic. It's clearly gonna affect everybody differently, just like light will. But it really helps.
And
It
light is so essential because light is just a part of the world. So there's something very simple about the light. And you said that you didn't have a mother to explain some of these things that happen at different ages. And I think that by sharing your experience, you can fill that role in this conversation episode for the people listening because they might not have that for whatever reason as well. And in my experience, I just don't talk about those things so much with my mother, but I remember I don't know if migraines were an issue for you, but for a long time when I was growing up, my grandmother would say to me, "She is so sorry. I genetically inherited her tendency to get migraines. It just happens." And I would say that one of my worst phases of having even more than a migraine is back around February and March this year. I was getting a bit addicted to volunteering. It has happened a few times in my life. I was doing a lot and I just wanted to give and to do and to give and to do. And then my head was going fuzzy. I can't even explain it. My head was fuzzy. And I was totally losing my energy, but I think that for months, really, in the autumn and winter over here, that we're now just out of, I think that my moods were just a total zigzag. And it was just like every so often, I just wasn't me. So I'm really curious if that sort of thing is what some women are experiencing, where you might get so depressed or just so sad, where you're wondering, hang on, what is going on? It doesn't feel coincidental that a lot of this was going on. Well, some of my worst moods were in the winter, and I think what I've learned from both you and Gary is just hearing about the impact of the seasons where there isn't a lot of light.
well that
Because in Australia, we don't talk about it.
well, we don't, and SAD is huge, and that's why this thing was originally developed, and a lot of the symptoms are the same. So, you feel depressed, you're bummed out, your moods are crazy, you get headaches, you're tired all the time. So, I think they parallel a lot, and I think women are going through this, and they're kinda going through it really quietly. They're trying not to rock the boat, they're trying to keep the peace, but you're going through it, and a lot of people just don't know how much and how important the light really is. I mean, it's great if you can go outside every day and be in the sunshine, that's super great, but you still have a workload. So so I think it's absolutely crazy important that women talk about all this stuff, and that's what's going on. My daughter uses it, and she suffers migraines, and she uses it on her way to work. And then she gets to work, and she's like, "I can focus down," and her headaches aren't gone, but they're better. Uh, Maybe it's helping. I don't know. I can't measure it, but I'm like, okay, are you feeling better? Your sleep is better. That's got to be something. Something is better than nothing. Um, so the more I think we talk about it, and like for you, the more you put on your plate, you need a little. It's kind of like having somebody sort of just go, "It's okay. You're going to be okay," but you have it around your neck, and you can do it very quietly and subtly. and
You
and
can. I was wondering about that. I was trying to explain the device to a friend last night because I haven't actually seen one physically in person yet, but you have one
I think
there.
we're sending. Are we
Yes, you're
sending?
sending one. So it's on its way. It literally, for those who are listening to audio, we'll have the video up, but for those listening to audio, it literally looks like headphones, basically.
Yeah. And what I like about it, because I'm not, you know, one of these techie people, so I like it because I can press the button and I don't have to put a timer on for 12 minutes. It'll just turn off. So, and if I'm having a really sort of it's dark, it's raining, this year, where I live, there was a lot of rain. So it's kind of dark and depressing. So I was popping that thing, once, and then drinking my coffee, and then I'd pop it again in the morning right away. And that sort of
Did
was like,
you
"Oh," and I was sort
did
of
you
up.
get so sorry, did you get a lot of rainwood in recent months?
Yeah, well, I'm in Bavaria. I'm in Garmisch, like, right near Garmisch-Partenkirchen, and it was a really, really rainy summer for everyone. So, on those days, the fall was very rainy as well. So, you get up, you put it in, pop, pop, and then you're just like, "Okay, I'm ready to go work. I'm good."
That's telling me something because although I'm so far away, where I live in Newcastle, north of Sydney, we had, I think it became 3 floods. It was severe floods, and then a couple of weeks or a few weeks later, there were more floods, and although people got out a little bit, there was so much rain in that, and it was a really miserable time, and people felt a bit scared. People wonder if they can even travel, so with that going on, I'd say it was really nearly a couple of months of just keep out of the floods on and off.
Well, that's scary. So that
It
adds
is.
to your stress, and it's no good. The only other thing that I know of that they use for SAD, which to me that it all ties together, is those big, huge lamps. So we got one for a while last year. We were playing around with it, and you have to sit like like this, right in
My
front of the
goodness.
bloody. You had to sit right, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, you can't have your glasses, and you have to sit right in front of this thing. And I said, there's no way for 45 minutes I'd have to be shot. I don't have the patience for that kind of thing. I mean, I barely have the patience to sit still for 5 seconds. I'm kind of spastic, so I'm like, you got to be kidding. I can't sit there and wait for this. And then you hear about, for me, one of the big things, and I wish more people would do this. I may be going through my life transition, but you think about young kids today, and they're in front of screens all the time. They're doing sports all the time. They're depressed. They're having all sorts of issues, and I'm like, they need something. And if you had to ask a young person to make them feel better to sit in front of a light box,
No.
no way. Or they'd get, like, I have friends who got their kids these little iPad programs, and I'm like, "Come on, they are not gonna stare at a light screen." It sounds like some horror
Programs?
movie, like like
What do you
Poltergeist.
mean? Sorry,
No,
what sort
like
of iPad programs? What's that about?
you could put it on your iPad, and it's a program where it has a light, and I'm like, "Oh, come on, someone paid money for this?" I just can't for their kids, and because their kids are up in where it's dark in their college and stuff, and I'm just thinking to myself, "There is no earthly way that those kids are gonna sit in front of the screen." Did you ever see the movie Poltergeist, the original?
No.
In the old days when the TVs were really old and they would go off air, you'd get static on the thing, and I'm like, that's what it reminded me of. You stare at the static and forget it. It's not gonna happen. Something has to be able to help us that is practical and easy. Otherwise, who wants to do it? Nobody wants to.
Yes, it has to be practical and easy, and also, it sounds like with that light that you were looking at, you said it's 45 minutes?
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
and
time in a day.
I don't know anybody who has 45 minutes. I mean, I really don't. We're moving too quickly. And, I mean, I guess if you could meditate, but typically when you meditate, don't you shut your eyes? Close your eyes?
Dealing.
I can't do that and look at the light box and sit there. I just couldn't do it. So, you know, between the bad lighting for in office buildings and dark nights and things like that, it really helps. It really helps. At least it helped me, and if it doesn't help someone, then maybe something else will be developed out there, but it's starting we're starting to see more and more people that I trust that are going, "Okay." And some it's just a little and some it's not as much, but man, I'll take anything to make myself feel better and get off the pills and go, "Okay, I'm human again." It's important.
Yes, and to contrast the alternatives and the options, I'm curious, what were some of the side effects of the pills that you were taking before you were having this option?
Oh, well, if you're married and you're taking some sort of medicine, it affects your sex drive, which makes your husband unhappy, which causes stress, which puts you right back into you're like a hamster on a wheel, right? Or you're tired, or, you're not motivated. So you're supposed to be feeling better.
But you
That
don't. So the pills make you tired and not motivated.
Yeah, so I'm like, "Okay, so I'm supposed to feel happy, but I am sort of it's not like you're stoned, but I guess you're just sort of going along going, "Whoa," and you
Wow.
don't wanna go out and necessarily go running. It's hard to get motivated. Um, I don't feel that way at all with this. So the light, you're like it's like I said, it's like when you're a little kid and you would just get up and you're like, "Okay, I'm ready to play. Let's rock." And that's what happened to my body. I just started to feel better. I never felt like that with the medicine. With the medicine, I can roll back over and sleep for another 5 hours, which wasn't benefiting me. It wasn't practical or decent sleep. It was just, I don't know, escaping reality, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a medical doctor. I just know that my sleep patterns were better, my moods were better, everything was better. And I'm like, okay. And it wasn't a pill. So I didn't feel sort of, my sex life I don't, wasn't affected anymore. And the other thing is that you use something for a long time and then suddenly it's not working the same. So you have to up your dose. And then the doctor goes, "Well, let's try this one." So then you have to wean yourself off of medicine, and then you wean yourself back on a medicine. That's a lot of monkey business.
Does it feel like you become an experiment?
Yeah, and the hardest part is it's great if you have a doctor that you trust, and that your medical system is good, but man, I can tell you right now, that's not always the case, at all, you know? My daughter, for example, as a female, had some female issues, and she went in to get a pap smear done, and they're like, "Oh, no, we don't do that now every year. We just do it." And she's like, "But I had a bad result, and they finally cleared my system." "Oh, you did?" And she said, "Well, it's in my chart." Nobody read the chart. The doctors and the nurse practitioners and everyone are so stressed out and so overworked, and so they're not even taking the time to go, "Oh, I have this young person in front of me and these are the issues." So you have to advocate for yourself, but you don't have a roadmap, you don't have parents. I don't know, I don't know what it is, but there's no way to go, "Okay, here's my checklist. Now, doc, this is this and this and this and this." So the doctor understands. So to me, that was shocking. You know,
Yes.
it,
It's
it was,
partly, are the appointments very, very short over there? Are they trying to cram this whole checkup and understanding into what, 5 or 10 minutes?
yeah, it's fast. It's, there's a lot of nurse practitioners, and don't get me wrong, I have the utmost respect for nurses and nurse practitioners, huge. But if they're going to throw a lot on them, they can't handle it all. If you look at the nurses, they're working crazy hours. Just the nurses alone in a hospital, they're working crazy hours. They're sitting around. They can't get any good food. They can't get out of there. They're under lousy light. We sort of are trying to get this device for some nurses to try, because but you go to the hospital administrators and you're like, "We have something that might make them feel better." Bottom line, it's money. And I find that really disturbing. Like,
Money.
"No, we don't wanna introduce this to somebody, oh, it's this, it's this." It's like, ugh, look at your staff. They need,
Not want to spend the money on it.
yeah, it's a really strange, dynamic, and I don't like it. I'm like, "These people represent you. Um, don't you think you ought to, say, 'Hey, this is available. We can do something to get it to you, and at least try it. If it doesn't work, then don't use it." But I can't even imagine. They put long hours, long shifts, and they have to be front and center, because if they miss something, they're usually the one that get in trouble. So I don't know what the solution is, but and I've heard it more and more lately, and I'm like, "Oh, this is not good. It's not it's not a positive thing."
The medical and health industries are in such a crisis in so many ways. And we are both not doctors, but we are women who have been patients and we have families. And I'll tell you, I went into the hospital not for myself, and it was a couple of times in the last couple of years. And I can relate to so much of what you are saying because, firstly, there was really just one little area to even get outside. And if you know where the benches are, then there's some light, but you can't open the window, and there is a lot less light inside. And I was really lucky that I knew literally, I think 3 to 5 types of food I could order over there that were even relatively healthy and real food. But I don't know if it's like that where you are, but you're in a hospital to heal and everybody is ordering fries. And I keep going back to fries on these podcasts, but, it just keeps coming up. But, you know, it's just stunning to me that I think these places are not really set up for those common sense solutions. I don't want to go and sound woo-woo and say, "Be all natural," because, yes, natural things are important, but just in general, the common sense things. It was easier to find a cup of jelly instead of just actual fruit.
I It's unbelievable. It's crazy. So when I was in Lek, I also got the chicken pox,
Right.
which I had never had as a child. I was vaccinated, but I didn't. So, and I went to a hospital in Austria. I had 4 people 4 people at one time in the room with me, and they're laughing because the doctor up in this little ski town said, "Oh, you have herpes." And I went, "Wah!" Yeah. The language translation, I was like, "Oh my
Oh,
god," you know? And so they threw me in an ambulance, 2 ambulance rides down into this thing, and then the care was amazing. I mean, and the girls were laughing. They were laughing at me. They're like, "You have the chicken pox." Chicken pox. And I said, "Oh, I've never had this." But, um, the first thing they did was they said, "Okay, you're good. We've got your medicine. Here it is. You have to go outside." And I had to go outside and sit outside until my husband they're like, "You can't be anywhere around us." So then I went and stayed in a room and this was before the HumanCharger. So then I went and spent, 2 weeks in a room, which was really kind of strange, but that was completely different than my experience when I had my hysterectomy and I had to spend the night in the hospital where the bill was $100,000 or just under. Yeah, it was and that was not for the surgery, that was just for the night in the hospital. That was
for
what
a
they
night
billed.
in the hospital.
Yeah, it was absolutely insanity. It was crazy. I'm getting myself out of bed and walking to the bathroom, and I'm like, This something is very broken." But if I looked around at the nurses on the nurses station, they don't get out. They can't leave their posts in order to even give themselves some good common sense, like, get outside and if you work all night long and you do incredible long shifts at night, and you go home, the last thing you wanna do is go outside and get some exercise and get some sunshine, and that's what you really need for your sanity. So your system is completely whacked. So, I you know, now you have something that's portable that might help, I hope. They're talking about putting lights, that are better, um, in buildings and things like that. They're talking about doing that in for pilots and stewardesses and things like that. But, that's a tremendous expense.
And it's
So,
taking time to set that up.
yeah, and the best thing is that people just have to, get a little decent food and get out and get some sunshine if you can, but you gotta move and you gotta have light, otherwise, ugh, it's not so good because it'll
So
affect your sleep.
we definitely know that the ideal is to get sunshine and have better sleep, but things get in the way. And what we have seen is that the things that get in the way, that can happen to any of us. Because what I reflected on in the previous podcast conversation about this is that I was having some day trips where I was on the train for 3 hours, and then I might have some calls in a hotel for an hour or 2, and then I've basically spent a day inside, kind of like what you're describing, and then it's nearly dinner time, and I barely got any light. And so on a normal day, on an ordinary day, I'll get out and have the balance. But if you are doing something different, then it's really hard. And I think that so many people have an equivalent of that. The work from home flexibility has changed quite a bit these days. And I'm hoping that when people do have the option to work from home, that they can get out for 5 minutes or 10 and then get back to what they are doing, or even I loved using the MacBook in the backyard in a spot that
Yeah,
in the
where you can
shade,
see
so
it.
it doesn't overheat, but you can do that. But on the days when you don't have a choice and you are in an office, or alternatively, when people are front facing, and so it sounds like this device will be really accessible. People might be working in retail, hospitality, all those things actually how many people working in hospitality have never worked in that field, but how many of those people are stressed out and miserable? So it sounds like that energy boost could help so many people. And you told me that sleep makes such a difference for all of these things. It's really hard for people to get the sleep that I need. For me personally, my weird reality is that when I'm in the city near the beach, I get much better sleep. But when I am out in the suburbs, I just, maybe it is environmental, I just don't sleep quite right. So it's so odd. I think there's a bit less of the outdoors. I don't pop outdoors as much, and things are built differently. It's something like that, I suppose, maybe the air as well. But you 2 travel a lot, and you've seen that there's there's work that just requires a bit more travel, and you need to feel switched on and alert.
Well, we if we go back to the caveman days, our whole world, we functioned when there was light. And so
Yes.
it affected how we slept, when we slept. So it affects light affects our hormones and melatonin and cortisol and everything that makes us feel better. And then it helps for women, it helps fertility, metabolism, it helps everything. So it also is our cue when we're up and when we sleep. So something little that can help, it's super great, I think. I mean, you have to. You gotta have a little bit of bright light in your life, and if you can't get it, that's a bummer because you're gonna feel it, you
You
know?
will
So if you
feel
have
it.
something that you sort of, I guess it's like brushing your teeth. You sort of get used to. You put it on in the morning, you put it on, you crunch it, and then, you know, for me, I could tell a major difference, and my friends that use it consistently, that's what they can do, and I'm like, "Okay, so I have something that can help somebody, so how do you tell people? How do you say, "Try it," and if it works, super great. I mean, I think it's important, we gotta help each other. We absolutely have to help each other.
What I admire about how you are spreading the word is that you're not making this a highly exclusive elite thing. You are introducing this to the nurses, the flight attendants, anyone, because I can tell you want everybody to be okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least in the United States, there's enough people on so many antidepressants. It's just horrible. It's horrible to feel rotten and lousy, and you don't feel good, and you don't know what's wrong, and that's just awful. I don't wish that on anybody. So uh, a little something that will help somebody. Let's do it, man. Whatever it takes. It's like giving somebody something to eat. Come on, give somebody an apple, make them feel better.
Yes, and we're not giving medical advice. I will really reassure that everybody talk to the doctor that you trust, but beyond that, ask questions, and alongside whatever the doctor has said, or in alignment with what feels right with the medical advice, it helps to try something extra. It's coming to me now that I knew of some people who were taking antidepressants of some sort, and it was making them put on a lot of weight.
Yeah, that'll do it. Definitely do it. And then that just adds insult to injury. You're like, come on, man. So then I'm going to pop the latest pill, and that's not going to last. And then that's going to cause all sorts of stuff. Maybe something that's as simple as a little bit of light, that's really, really, we're not talking about a rocket science. The other thing I know from doctors that, like in the US, they always had reps going to the doctor's offices with the latest, greatest, this is the pill. So give this to your this, right? And I'll feed your office, or I'll do this. And then they sort of tried to taper that down. I don't know if it's still going on or whatever, but a doctor goes to school and they get educated on only so much. right? And then things are always changing and evolving. They can't possibly be up on the latest and greatest all the time, especially if it's something as simple as this. So it's a big thing to say there is other things. And you hope that you have a doctor that is going, what else is there for my clients that they care. Unfortunately, in the US, because of insurance and that debacle that we're having, um, you know, the insurance companies are saying, well, you can do this, this, and this.
What sorts of things are they saying you
Like
can
you,
do?
we won't pay for this for your client. We won't do this and this. This isn't anything that's complicated. This is an alternative to make your client feel better that you can recommend or don't, or maybe your client can discover it on their own, but it's a little something and somehow the word has to get out to help them. I
This is this is why I am really interested in what we have to call the wellness communities. And this isn't necessarily a commune growing kale, as cool as that would be, but this is the spaces where people have freedom to have conversations like this beyond the highly regulated spaces. What you're describing with the insurance, there are some forms of insurance over here in Australia. To put it really simply, there's a type of insurance where people were wondering if, as a comparison, art therapy and music therapy would stop being covered, but then other therapies were continuously covered. And it's some sort of logic about the evidence or research. I don't really know how they decide that, but I think that what you are, to bring it back to the human charger here, at a minimum, we can see that you do get the clarity, and people talk about the nervous system. If using this thing for a bit can even maybe calm your nervous system, you feel more reassured, and the light is giving you something, then why not? Let me know if you agree. Why not use something like this alongside trying whatever people want to try?
yeah,
Why do we have to pick and choose?
well, we shouldn't have to. We should, and everybody's different, so, you know, a little of this, a little of that, and you sort of find your balance. But you don't have to wean on and off of this like you would a drug. But if you figure a sunny day is 100,000 lux of light, and if you don't have a sunny day, it's 10,000. This gives you the same thing. And I'm like, okay, so I'm getting my blast of sunshine. And everybody's all excited, kids at spring break. I said, oh, spring break, let's go. Let's go to the beach. Because they need that light and they crave it. So now you can just have your light and take it with you and hopefully make people feel better. I mean, it's I don't think it's overly complicated. I just just whatever would make people feel better. It's we got to help each other. I don't know. I really, like I said, this was not my thing. I was like, "What?" I didn't believe it was going to work and it worked amazing. And every one of my friends and colleagues and Olympians and people that I gave it to, they're like, "Oh, wow." So that to me, I was like, oh, okay. So it isn't just me, it is helping people. It's not 100% cure, but man, something makes people better. Let's share
Okay.
it.
You mentioned something that I should have given more time and attention to. You said that Olympians are using this. That sort of thing could nearly become a headline. Let's give that attention for a second, because I know what it's like to come from a field of expertise where you take it for granted and it's your normal. But you two, you work with Olympians and that's your normal everyday life. But to everybody else, that's a big thing. So you're saying that Olympians are using this and it's helping them.
Yeah. So we have a couple ski racers. We have a world championship ski racer. Um, and I've known this guy since he was a kid. Um, and he agreed to try it. And he's Austrian. He and his sister agreed to try it after their auntie tried it. And an auntie is very tough Austrian, ex-Austrian ski team. This woman can do anything. And I thought she'll never try this. There's no way. And she first used it to fly back from Austria to Michigan to visit a friend. And she said for the first time, I didn't have any jet lag, and I didn't have the sometimes it affects your stomach, I guess. Some people, their bowels get all blocked up and they get all
The
constipated.
jet
And
lag?
yeah, so jet lag has all sorts of wild symptoms. And she
Oh,
said, I had
it messes
none.
with the gut.
Yeah, it affects your gut. So she said, no, I had none. And then she came back, she told her husband, and she sort of, she's like, then they flew from Austria to Peru and hiked. They were like unbelievable. So she did this little cute little video and stuff. And then she gave it to her niece and her nephew who were on the Austrian ski team, and unbelievable. They love the results. They no jet lag. It also helps them hyperfocus, which was one of the things about it. That's why Gary likes it most, is he puts it on in the morning and he can just go right into work and just focus. Um, so they loved that. But Raphael Hasser, man, he just had an incredible year, world championship, and he got second in the Hormonal, which is a huge, famous ski race. And then he crashed and hurt his jaw, and he had to go from the ski race he was at to get surgery and then get the fake teeth put in and do all this work. Then he had to fly to the United States for the last year of the race, and he had exactly 1 day. And normally you lose a day per time zone that you cross when you fly with these things, or when you fly. Um, he flew all the way from Austria to Sun Valley, Idaho, and 1 day of training, and then I think he got second. So these are Olympic amazing athletes that are going, wow. And slowly the word is getting out. And we know the ski world, so that's a little bit different. Um, but trying to get it out to others, we're working on it. We're working on
Yes.
some football players and some football teams. And keep your fingers crossed. So far,
It's
so
nice
good.
it's nice to see the crossovers between different professions, because I should really acknowledge that because I'm in Australia, I don't see skiing, I don't see all of that. However, I do see people pushing themselves for all sorts of work, and for me, the thing that translated quite a bit was the travel, especially because I'm in what is called a regional city that feels like a small town, and I'm reconnecting with the main city. And whether it's that, or so some people over here will do a similar commute, but also people like to travel a lot. And so the travel is definitely a part of it for me. But the Olympic skiing, that's very significant because either way, even aside from the skiing part, they are traveling to different countries. And I think that it's great to see that the world is opening up a lot more now. We've had a couple of years post COVID of getting out there. We weren't traveling for a while and now we are, but we want to really make the most of it. And the world is becoming so global, especially as people have online personal brands. People are connecting brands with other spaces a bit more than when we were staying at home, perhaps. And so, for reasons like that, it's really important. But even just even just knowing that you are working with people who are doing a form of high performance, that's really significant. And so you're translating that to then footballers and so on. And it sounds like the common thread is people want to do more than what their minds and bodies are letting them. And literally just giving ourselves more light, it's empowering people to then create the value and experiences that we all want to create.
It's kind of ridiculous. It's such a simple thing that you almost for a while I was like, I sound ridiculous because it's just light. It's not very complicated. But you're like, but it but it's really missing in a lot of people just because of the way our life is. You got your screens, you're in bad light, you whatever. And no matter what people do, it doesn't matter if you're an Olympian or an executive or a mom, you want to feel better because you got to do the best you can.
Yeah.
So you just need a little help is kind of nice. I mean, I don't know what it's like to drive across Australia, but I do know that one thing that I love about the human charger, when you like in America, like if you drive in Michigan and you drive from one end to the next, it's like 5 or 6 hours. That's
Wow.
one state. I mean, you're a huge country. So when you start to get, when you're driving along in your car and you start to go, "Ugh," and you get that sort of, oh, I better pull in and get a cappuccino or an
Yes.
espresso or something or a Red Bull or whatever you're going to do. Um, that's when we put the human charger in, and we've done it. And I've tried to track when I can feel it starting to work, and I can't. I can never because
It's gradual.
right? And I put the button on, and then in about 15 minutes, suddenly you're up and you're trying to put your finger on when that happened. It's not like an espresso where you're like, "Mm," and then you have the shakes. You're just suddenly awake again. It's so weird. It's really
This
weird.
is
I'm so excited for you to get it. I'm
oh,
really
good.
excited because if
I'm
you
so
have a long haul, you're not gonna believe it. You're gonna be like, this is weird. It's
and
really
I
weird.
hope I know we booked in for an hour, but I hope you have 5 or 10 more minutes because I'm getting these
Yeah,
ideas. Okay, awesome.
yeah.
And I'll chop that a bit out. But you mentioned the Red Bull and the caffeine. We are really identifying the big issues here because people do get sluggish. Some people on a long work day of any sort, they are resorting to any of those quick fixes to get their energy. And to be fair, I love my coffee. I want to be the Lorelei of Newcastle, but you can't rely on that all day. And some people don't like the taste of coffee, so they go to the sugary drinks instead. The energy drinks, it's so bad for you. And if we can get light having the same impact or a better impact and people are skipping the sugar, that is going to help their health.
My oh, monster drinks and this and that, and I'm like, "Come on, yikes." And or the little 5-hour energy, okay, I get it, but, like, cramming for a test and stuff, it's like, "Why don't you try this?" Because then if you're on that and you take your power drink and you get your rush, right? But if you crash before you have to be done with whatever you're doing, sometimes that's brutal. And I know that kids are getting hurt and sometimes ending up in the hospital. They're mixing alcohol with these power drinks. You're just like, okay, man, come on. This is crazy. So yeah, I would agree. My son was in pilot school in Salt Lake, and I'm begging him, would you just try this thing? I sent you one. Can you just try it?
Try it.
'Cause you're waking up at 4 in the morning, driving, an hour to the airport, then you're flying in the dark, just give it a try. Eventually he was like, wow. And he liked to use it before he would get tested. And he said, I could focus in. And my son was like, he loves his Red Bull and all his stuff. He goes, I still like my bad drinks, which I never allowed in the house until that he had to get that on his own because that wasn't in my home. But he's like, it worked. And he said it helped me focus without the jitters. And when you're a pilot, you got to land a plane, you kind of you kind of need that. So I was kind of excited. I was like, wow. So now can you just cut out the really power drinks to, or at least reduce them down to something a little reasonable? I mean,
This is this is going to help anyone to even build their own presence because I came from a public speaking background, and I believe that with how the economy is now, everybody needs to learn that and do that in whichever spaces are possible. And looking at my long term history, a decade ago in my 20s, when I was really getting my reps up presenting and practicing presenting heaps, I actually, there were some moments I was traveling across the state and I think I must have got a bit sluggish. And so I was having, I think from memory, gummy bears. It was a whole lot of gummy bears. And I would have,
sugar buzz.
it's so funny because I adore those photos of the days in my mid-20s when I was basically, "Hello, everybody," and I was so wound up with candy. People called me the Energizer Bunny, like a battery. That is not sustainable. I was so unhealthy, and now as I'm trying to meet people and connect in community more now, it has to be healthy and sustainable because I'm 36 and there'll be so many people in a situation like mine where they want to spread the word about what they do. And they might not be 19. And frankly, no matter what age you are, you shouldn't be relying on all this sugar. But we can't control what other people do. But we need a healthy alternative. And light is, I think you are bringing attention to the difference that light can make.
Like I said, it's a really it's almost ridiculous. It's almost like, oh, it's just light. That's what we need. Yeah, it's really, it affects so many of our systems and makes them run smoothly versus putting something in our body, you know, like a drink or I don't know, whatever else you want to put in your body. I mean,
For sure.
I am from Aspen. I knew what made people go all night long, but that was a little different back in the day. So,
What was it?
oh, never mind. But
Okay. It was serious enough you can't say it on a
no,
podcast.
no, no. This was like cocaine. I mean, people wanted to go all night long. I'm like, well, okay, well, just put a little light in your ear and you can rock on all night long and have your energy. You don't need to put something else in your body. So I'm like, okay, so it's a simple, it's simple and healthy and not dangerous. And I'm like, wow, okay. And what I like about it is I don't crash. I don't have a sugar crash. I've always been someone who can drink a cup of coffee and then go to sleep. So that was never an issue. But when I go to bed, I'm just, good night. Lights are out and then it's up again. And that's, that's huge. I wish that for everyone. That that good sleep, and that feeling that you had when you were a kid. I think it's like, wow, can we just go back to that? No,
Yes.
it'd
And
be
sorry for the
nice.
tissues, by the way, I'll edit that out. Um,
No, I don't care.
you don't care. Look, I want to end with a call to action, and I appreciate that we have taken extra time
Oh yeah.
because light is so simple. And what I appreciate about this product and the focus on light is that everybody will have different preferences for food and you'll access different foods at different times, will have different amounts of time outside or indoors, and a lot of variables will happen. But if we can bring some light back to ourselves, and I'm guessing this thing, it would last a while, it would have probably a good couple of years or more of life, this
That
device.
so we have people that are calling us after 6 years, and we just took on the distribution, and all they're asking for is these little things. It comes with these little ear things in different
Earbuds,
sizes, so you can
like
stick them
earphones.
on. I don't know if you can see it, but it's
It's like a little rubber cover?
yeah. So that we have different sizes. It comes with it. and you just put the charger in, you plug it in like you would your cell phone or whatever, so that you can recharge the battery. But they're going on 6 years for this little teeny tiny thing. And they're like, "Oh,
6
Mono,
years.
it's still going, but I need some more of these because these fall off." I am like a bull in a china shop. I'm really tough on things, and so I just put a little bit of glue and glued my little ear things on so they don't, because sometimes if you pull them wrong, they'll fall off and then you'll lose them. Kinda like when your earbuds fall out of your head, but there's no magnet, so you don't have to worry about any of that weird stuff where, "Oh, it's frying your brain," or, you don't wanna do that. There's nothing. This is so simple and so safe, and people will just think you're listening to music.
It's literally just light.
It's just like it's as simple as it gets. It's like you're turning on your sunshine for 12 minutes, and if you need a little more, like, "Oh, I need another hour in for my tan," and you press the button and off you go. So it's a really simple thing, really easy. Um, like I said, I'm really glad I found it because I can't even imagine, especially when I went from, Portugal to Austria, now I'm in Germany, finding another doctor, going through all the, oh, and shifting countries and medications and things like that. It's like, oh, well, I have this and it's working and it's holding steady. And so my friends that are using it, it's holding steady. So I'm like, okay, maybe we got something that will help people and make them happy.
It's a continuity. So, call to action at the end of this. Right now, are you only distributing to the US? Where can people get one of these? Where can someone get a human charger anywhere?
Um, you can get it humancharger.com. You can get it humancharger.us, but we're working on Australia. We're trying to help them because we'd like to have it distributed there. I'm sure we can just send it. I mean, it's humancharger.com or I'm gonna have to have Gary tell you exactly how to get that part, and how to get it or get it through you or something.
Absolutely. Right now, even if I can be a link between everybody else and you and Gary, I'm happy to be that link in any way. And so people need to try that charger, and until you can get a human charger and in between, and to keep the common sense going as well, of course, get some sunlight when you can. But if anyone is having work or travel or other issues like hospital or being inside a lot for whatever reason, or maybe seasonal depression, then definitely keep an ear out, pardon the pun, to get the human charger.
Yeah, it's really unbelievable, and, like, we're pretty clear. If it doesn't work, then we'll take it back. But you once you and you've got it's kinda like anything. It's kinda like, I wanna lose some pounds. Well, I gotta walk every day or whatever it is. You have to use it consistently, and then you get the best results. You know, I gotta brush my teeth every day. Well, I gotta put my human charger on every morning, and then in the afternoon when I'm, having my lunch or something, I pop it on. People are thinking I'm rocking out to tunes or something like that, but it's not. But it lasts forever. This thing just doesn't break down. It doesn't I'm like, "Wow, that's pretty good." Thought that was rather nice.
It
So,
is.
yeah, because the last thing I mean, I don't wanna get taken for a ride, as they say. So, for me, it's gotta last and it's gotta work, and it does both those things for me, which is why we said, "Hey, let's do something with this. See if we can't help people."
We're doing something with this. I'm
Yeah, it
going to
was
spread
really
the word
fun.
so much. Look,
Yeah.
thank you so much for
Yeah.
helping so many people with this.
Well, we're trying. Thank you for helping us spread the news or the information because it's really amazing, and I hope that people start to go, "Okay, yeah, this can help." But,
Absolutely.